Okay, so I just scooped out 1 scoop of our freshly sorted nuts, and these are all piece nuts. And you need about 3 inches of water. So even if you use another bucket, fill it up with a minimum of 3 inches of water, or or a little more. It doesn't matter. You just don't want less than that. You want it to be able to distinctly float or sink. We're gonna put our nuts in here, and as you can see, we got floaters and we got sinkers. So it doesn't matter if it's a piece nut or a whole nut. The maturity level of the nut is the amount of oil that is in it. So even if it's a piece of a nut that's immature, it's going to sink. If it's a piece of a nut that's mature, it will float. And so we can really see what nuts we have. All right, I forgot my colander. Sorry, guys. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of our nice floating nuts and we're gonna put them in a colander to drain. That's the colander that we're going to use for our washing process in the second part. Or if you're doing this outside in the garage area, or any part where we don't have a running sink and we're just doing the floater process, put them in a separate food safe container that we can then wash them once we're in the kitchen area. So there we go. And as you can see, those will just continue to sink. They won't just float later. Another really cool thing about this part is the pieces of shell will also sink to the bottom, and you'll get a lot of the residue off of it. So it helps with our cleaning process also. So here, let's try another one. Okay. And it's good to note that this process only works with fresh nuts. If they are frozen before they are sorted, they have to be fully defrosted before you can float test them, because all frozen nuts sink. So you'll get false negatives on that one. So I try to just kind of wash them around in the water a little bit, just to get a little bit of that gunk off before we go through that washing process, make my life a little bit easier. And we tend to get more sinkers with the piece nuts than we do with the whole nuts. So that's a good little thing to watch out for, is you'll get a lot more sinkers when they're in pieces. And if it kind of goes like this, where it's mixing up from me actually grabbing it, just give it a minute, let it sink back down, just to make sure we have good results, because you really don't want to give somebody a product and it's yucky and soggy on the inside but looks delicious on the outside. Okay, thanks. Off to the next process. Take your hands and really wash them around inside. You want to keep the water rinsing it because it'll help loosen it up as you're rubbing it. So what I'm actually doing is, here, I'll show you. Right here, I'm taking it and I'm pushing it against the sides. I'm rubbing it all around the sides of the colander, and that'll get rid of a lot of the particles that are stuck to the sides of the unwashed and raw mac nuts. So you just keep washing. It's not hard, it's not rocket science, but you don't want to just do 1-2 swipes and you're done, because that really isn't going to do it. You really want to get all of those nuts rolled around and rolled against the edges to make sure everything is nice and as clean as possible. A lot of the times what this will do is leave a residue down at the bottom, and so next we want to separate these from the gunk that's now sitting at the bottom. So that's where our second colander comes in. And what we'll do is we'll put our nuts with the, this one has our nuts in it. And this is our second colander. Okay, and sorry, trying to get this where you can see it too. Okay, so we're just gonna grab it by the handfuls. Don't dump it in, because then all the crap at the bottom of the colander would dump into your second colander, and that's really just going to defeat the purpose. So grab the handfuls of nuts, put them into the second colander. This is a good time also to pull out any kind of bad nuts. We try our very best during our sorting process to get rid of it all, but quality control and consistency is number one. So I would rather be safer than sorry. Anything with a large discoloration like this one, see how it's brown, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little on the darker end. And we'll just throw that into our sink on the other side. This one over here has discoloration on the side, and it's not a bad nut, but it's really not one that you would really want to, if you were buying it, would you want to open it up and see it there? And if you wouldn't, then don't put it in somebody else's stuff. So we'll go through, pull out everything that is good. And we'll leave whatever residue at the bottom. There's a little in here, not too bad. And then we'll go through again, and we'll run the water, and we'll rinse one more time. And this is really just cleaning out anything extra that may be embedded. So the embedded ones are the worst, are the most critical to get out, because there's a bunch of little specks in the mac nuts, and that's what we really want to get out of there. It doesn't look good, and it's not really good. Couple things to remember with mac nuts. Our goal is to keep as much moisture out of the nut as possible. So letting it sit like this wet, found another one.